Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of 31-year-old Lance Kapua, who vanished from Rotorua in New Zealand on Saturday, July 1st, 1989, on the eve of his 31st birthday. That night he told his mother he was going to go out for a walk, and then in the morning she noticed that he hadn't returned, and when people started to arrive to wish him happy birthday, they grew more and more concerned as time passed, so they contacted the police. Now, Lance had developed schizophrenia while he was at the Waikato University, and then he moved back to Rotorua to live with his mother Polly on Whittaker Road in Koatu. Now, these are all New Zealand names, and if I'm not pronouncing them correctly, I'm very sorry about that. Either way, due to his schizophrenia, he needed to take medication 3 times a day, which of course he was not doing as long as he was out there. The response of the police was underwhelming. Only a handful of police actually helped in the search, and the disappearance itself barely made national headlines, and case was never upgraded to CIB. When the family approached the then police minister Peter Tapsell asking for more officers, they were told that there weren't enough resources to do so. So then the family raised $1,000, presenting a check to the local police to be spent on more resources, but the police returned the check, saying it should be used to increase publicity. So they then hired a helicopter for an aerial search, which unfortunately didn't lead to anything. It was suggested that he could have slipped and fallen into a Kairau Park hot pool or in Lake Rotorua, both of which were close to his home. And though there were several theories as to where he may have gone, suicide was definitely not an option, at least not a likely one. The police did investigate rumors that he was picked up by Black Power members and either given a lift out of the city or attacked and killed. That was also not confirmed. The family then went to a Tuhunga, which is a Maori priest, who led the family to an empty block of land between Whittaker and Bennett's Road and pinpointed a spot where he believed Kapua was buried. Bones were found there, but they turned out to belong to a dog. 2 psychics told his parents that he was living in a commune in west coast of South Island, and a 3rd psychic that his sister was seeing also hinted at this. And this is a theory that his parents believed until their own demise. Many years after his disappearance, his sister was interviewed, and she was quoted as saying, "He is always on our minds and in our hearts, but we will have to carry on. There's not a lot we can do, except hope that one day the mystery will be resolved. We can always remember and always hope, but with everything that's happened, you just have to move on, because if you don't take that approach, it's going to ruin your life." So since there's no evidence of him having slipped into one of the lakes or hot pools, haven't been taken by Black Power members, buried anywhere, or joining a commune, the case still remains unsolved. And that is why I was asked to do a reading on this case using the tarot. And we're going to do that starting off with the Urban deck, which is already on the table. And for any further questions, we're moving on to the Vice Versa deck, which is this one. So as per usual, I'm going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have about a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, let's take a look. We're starting off with the 10 of Swords on its side. That's how it landed, so that's how I kept it. A Ten of Swords is somebody who has a dark before the dawn attitude, but in this case it's also the Ten of Swords that points towards perhaps chemical dependencies. Maybe this, actually the first thing that came up when I saw this card land was perhaps Lance was thinking, I have this chemical dependency now because of the condition, and do I really want to continue to take this meds? Do I want to see if I can go without? They weren't really convinced that they wanted to keep taking those medications for the rest of their life. Maybe at some level they were kind of scared of that or something, because it does show a very negative image of, so we say, pharmaceuticals and being used. So maybe they were looking for some other way to cure this, or thinking maybe there was still some hope that he could do without. But in any case, there is that uncertainty and fear, I would almost say, there, which may have led to them going out and perhaps listening to other people. This may not be yet the day where he disappears, maybe just before, maybe he was reading things in books or something like that. It was 89, so it definitely would not have been online. Maybe he's heard something on a TV show, talked to some people on the university campus or wherever he was beforehand, before he moved back in with his mother, that is. Because we see here the Page of Swords, which is somebody who kind of speaks maybe before their turn, a bit enthusiastic. It's upright, so maybe they had the best intentions. And then we see the Three of Pentacles, which is called works, and it is often a representation of people working together. So maybe there was somebody that he was talking to, or somebody he has talked to in the past about things that concern him, perhaps also alternatives, things like that. And this may have come up again in his mind. Maybe that didn't quite turn out the way that he wanted it to. This could very well be somebody telling him oh, if you take these meds, everything's going to be fine. We're going to work with you to figure this out, stuff like that. And then we have the disappointment, which is also what this card is called. This is the Five of Cups. Literally says disappointment at the bottom there. You can see everything in the cabinet is smashed, and he's unable to really look at anything that is still good. For instance, the Five Cups that are still hanging there. And that is perhaps also really hurting his faith in the people that were telling him that everything was going to be fine, and maybe also some doubt toward the people that he was supposed to trust the most. Because I'm noticing in particular the photo frame that's in the bottom of the case there, which I think is a family photo or something like that. That's also part of the damaged goods. So maybe he was I don't know if I need to be here, or if I want to be here. May even have had a bit of guilt, feeling maybe my presence here is making people uncomfortable or something along those lines. In any case, experiencing some type of emotional loss, because the cups are the emotion suits. We then have the Hanged Man upright and the Ace of Wands in reverse. Okay, so we're taking a different tactic here. We are looking at things from a different perspective. The angle at which this Hanged Man is hanging is making sure that all of his worldly goods are shaken out of his pockets. You can see that all the money and the phone, everything, the credit cards and whatever he has on him are dropping, but he doesn't seem mournful about it. Next to that, we have the Ace of Wands in reverse, like I said. So maybe he has now got an idea, which is going to relieve him of all of his worldly goods and possessions, or the things that people would expect them to normally care about, but he doesn't care. It's kind of almost like a bit of a Fool card energy. He's just going to go with whatever whim that has struck him at that moment, and sets out on a new adventure, a new path, new plan. A lot of energy with that, though, with this Ace of Wands. So I think that he did want to strike out and do something new, do something different. Something that perhaps people would have advised against had he told them about it beforehand. Now, second row, we have here the Prince of Discs, which is the Knight of Pentacles, which suggests to me that he at least went about this in a fairly methodical, planned out manner, and maybe also in a way that he felt would gain him something. Now, wealth in this case doesn't always have to mean physical resources, doesn't have to mean money. In his case, it may have meant mental health, which is also something that you can be wealthy in, particularly if you have lacked it for some time now. Then feeling good may actually make you feel like you've just won the lottery in this case. So perhaps he tried out some method or something or place. Maybe he struck out somewhere into the wilderness thinking that I just need to get away from the town, and then maybe my mental health will improve on its own. And he may initially have felt like that was indeed the case, but then the next card we see here is the Seven of Swords. And the Seven of Swords is a card of deceit, lying, maybe lying to himself in this case. For every benefit that he may have thought that he had, there are at least 6 of them pointing back at him like, oh, but there's also this, and there's also this, and there's also that. So maybe he is trying to convince himself that everything is fine. Just noticing that the background looks a little bit like the main sword is in the spotlight, so maybe he's pretending to the outside world that everything's fine. There's some type of bleachers and things in the background, so maybe like a circus show, putting on a show. And meanwhile, inside, he's actually breaking down, or at least his thoughts are against him there. We have the Eight of Cups trying to walk away from something emotionally. And then we have the Three of Cups in reverse. Okay, Three of Cups is normally like a coming together with people, so maybe he's actually creating more distance here. Then deciding to cut ties and walk away. Like after having tried just about anything that he could think of, he's had to come to the conclusion that actually that is not going to help after all, and now he is breaking things off with people. Maybe also just kind of breaking things off with society. We already kind of saw them moving away potentially with this new hangman idea that we had over there. But now he may really be trying to move away from people in general. Maybe he hadn't yet left up until this point, but now after trying something new, whatever that may have been, and coming to the conclusion that that is actually not going to help, he's like, okay, that's it. I've had enough. This is it. That's all I can do. I can't really stay with these people anymore. Like, that's done. That's over now. And then we have over here the Hermit and the Tower side by side. Now, the Hermit in this case kind of looks like it would be a good match for the Ten of Swords that we had at the start there. Hermit is normally somebody who is wise and who has withdrawn from society in order to, I guess, come to their own senses, meditate, things like that. But this looks more like somebody who's trying to step out of society because they feel like they can't really be a good functional part of it anymore. Like this person is hiding somewhere in a dark spot, potentially with their own addictions, because they cannot stand to be among people who are, like, I don't know, in a better shape mentally than they are. That kind of is the vibe from this card. Next to that with the Tower, of course, which is a big upheaval in somebody's life. So I'm thinking that this is them perhaps hitting the road. And this may be the moment where he actually leaves. So this will be the evening, I suppose, of them going for a walk, the evening before their birthday. Maybe also picking a birthday as some type of symbolic event as well, because you also see here this card over here. Just as they were about to break off things, we see a card or with a cake. I said card earlier, but I meant the cake, which could easily be representing how they were going to celebrate his birthday the next day as well. So that may have been decided beforehand that he was going to go somewhere else. So this point, I think, is the part where he decides to leave. So far it looks as though he did want to go after having tried a bunch of things, and then hopefully things would improve, but apparently they did not. So let's see what happens after that. So far we haven't actually encountered anybody yet. We have the High Priestess. Okay, so now we are trying to, I guess, glean some type of wisdom from beyond the veil. Maybe this is the start of some type of spiritual quest. I'm getting the impression that he may have wandered off somewhere. Like I said earlier, maybe he wanted to go into the wilderness to get away from people. He was already moving away from society over here. I keep getting the impression that maybe he thought that he would be better off somewhere in like a natural environment, without all the medication, without all the people judging his behavior or something. This, I believe, is the King of Cups. Let's flip him over real quick. Yep, that is the King of Cups in reverse. Okay. The waters are calm, but there is deceit here on an emotional level. But I'm also getting a sense of just feeling hard done by, like maybe they're stepping away because they feel like maybe they've been betrayed, or they have certain woe is me type stories going on that made them turn away from people as well. So this may be self-deceit, telling themselves all sorts of stories about why it is better for them to not be around other people. We have strength here, though. That's a good sign, like they try to be strong in face of adversity. Maybe they now want to hack it by themselves, and found, at least initially, that they were actually pretty good at that, because the background it looks like it's a field of wheat. And in the foreground, we see some berry bushes. It looks as though maybe it's just flowers, but it kind of reminds me of berry bushes. So maybe he initially thought, oh, actually, this isn't too bad. I mean, he left in July, so that would be in the middle of, no, wait, that would be fall, maybe? In the Southern Hemisphere? I'm not entirely sure what season that would be. Maybe winter, actually. Either way, it looks as though he felt like he was doing pretty good, all things considered. So he found some way to make it out there by himself. And oops, there we go. We have the Empress. Okay, so maybe actually being aided by somebody here who is also responsible. Again, the card with the wheat and the caring nature of someone. The abundance around them as well. The big star drawing them in with the constellations. Like, look at this. This is like meant to be, that type of thing. Next we have the Hierophant and the star in reverse. Okay, so at the start of this reading, before I even shuffled any decks, I was like, I don't want to go for any of the stories, like try to think of any of the stories that were already possible scenarios here. I always try to go into a reading neutral, but these cards in particular are with the Hierophant and the Empress and the High Priestess on the front there at the start. The emotional manipulation of the King of Cups, and then we have, there's definitely that element of some type of religiosity. There's the kid holding the key, there is a naked woman pouring water out on the Star card. Kind of like a reborn vibe. Now, I'm not saying that this is indeed a commune, but it does give a lot of vibes of trying to find some way to be reborn, to start over again, fresh, as though we've just joined the world, and why don't we try again with a new sense of self, a new religion, a new way of being, like that type of thing, following the star. But the star being in reverse, I tend to see that as being hidden from the world. So again, that retreat from society. The Knight of Wands, kind of on its side. Okay, so we're taking some quick actions here, which may not entirely be appreciated. Cutting it a little too close as well, because the hair of the horse's tail is starting to rise up, which usually means that the electricity of the lightning is getting really close to striking near them. So perhaps the type of things that they are doing is a little too dangerous, a little too gung-ho. Maybe they are trying things in this new life that they are now leaving that is not conducive to a healthy and long life, that type of thing. Because I was also looking at the stork on this card over here earlier, which is usually a sign of long life, but it's in reverse. Now we get this as well. So maybe there are things being done that are kind of risky. I think perhaps some type of concoction that they may have made with berries or something that made them think, oh, if I take this, this will be like a cure, or just doing really dangerous things, like some type of coming of age ceremony or something that's really dangerous. I don't really know what, but seeking out risky challenges perhaps to prove themselves or something like that. It has that vibe in any case. which doesn't necessarily mean that there's other people there. He may be doing this themselves as well out in nature. This, let's see, this is judgment, so temperance. Yeah, we're definitely not thinking too clearly about what it is that we're doing. We are aiming for this portal there in the background though, so we are definitely looking for some type of passage. Again, rite of passage over here. We are throwing caution to the wind so that we can actually go through this portal and perhaps step into a new life, it looks as though. So this may be challenges that they've posed themselves, but yeah, and we're also speaking some words here that are rather hasty. Maybe the old convictions coming back up because we already had the Page of Swords right there. That was way at the start. So maybe they are reaffirming the things that they used to believe or the things that they wanted to believe back in the day. He also looks very, very determined over here. So maybe now it is giving their beliefs an even bigger boost. Thinking that maybe now, this time, it's going to work. Like last time they tried it and it didn't quite do the things that they wanted. All the gains that they thought they were making were for naught. And now with this new boost of whatever this is, they are even more fanatic about it. But then we have a moment where we have to actually take a break because we're looking at the Four of Swords. Things are burning in the background. The man is sitting there looking very defeated and tired. Maybe now realizing that again, it's not doing the things that they wanted it to do. It's not having the effect that they wanted it to have. And now they really need to, I guess, go back to the drawing board. Or at the very least, they are forced to stop whatever they were doing for some time. Perhaps also internally, because of course the Swords is a suit of words and thoughts. Maybe they have to sort through their own beliefs at this point to see what holds true and what they should just let go of because there's stuff burning in the background. We need to stop that. They're just noticing the negative effect, I suppose, of all this gung-ho behavior that we saw on the past few cards over here. Sun is going down. Sun is in reverse in any case. So the happiness perhaps that they thought they were going to get through this is leaving, or the shine that it had initially, the spark that they got from this new line of activity is fading. Maybe a realization is dawning that perhaps the truth is that they cannot be the person that they want to be, or the goal that they were looking to reach is too far, at least for the time being. This one flipped, but it didn't quite land anywhere else. But in case, let's take a quick look. It's the Ten of Swords again, which is where we started at the very beginning. So perhaps that also shows that the old disappointment and how he now needed to take these meds is coming back as well. This may also just be a confirmation then, like, okay, well, I guess that was the only thing that I could do at that time. But, you know, it didn't quite fall, so I'm thinking that it was just a background noise, I suppose, and what was going on. Okay, so we have the Eight of Swords in reverse. There is no rescue coming. This bird over here. Also, they could walk away from this themselves, but they feel like they cannot. This kind of says to me, like, there's no way to live with this. I can't, like, get away from this. This is something that's going to be with me forever. But they do kind of know that there are medications that he could be taking, but still does not want to take them. Like, if there is no other thing than medication, then that means there is no other option for me, because they just don't want to do that. This is the Justice card in reverse and facing away once again. No justice for us. There's nothing here to get anymore. Universe in the background. We've turned back on or it has turned its back on us. Also, I think that the deity that is etched into the back of this chair is a Egyptian god of death or something. It's got this crocodile face. Don't they like eat the people? I'm not really sure about that, but it's just coming to mind, like the people, the souls that go into the afterlife, that whose heart is heavier than the feather or something, get eaten by something like this. I'm not entirely sure, but they may feel like this is just them being damned for all time, like this is it. I can't get away from this, like feeling really, really melancholic about it. There's no more happy-go-lucky vibes here with the fool looking away from us again and in reverse, so there is just no way. There's nothing left to do. There's nothing, no more luck to go seek, no more paths to walk. And then we see the Seven of Swords, and this is the Queen of Wands in reverse. So feeling lied to. We already did that earlier with the Seven of Swords over here. So Seven of Swords energy is back, but in this case it was them lying to themselves, but hoping that things were more positive than the doubts were telling them. And in this case, they may feel like, okay, no, yeah, all those doubts, they were totally real, and there's nothing more for me to do. I've been lied to. All of the mental constructs that they may have used in the past to keep this thing going is now exposed. And then we get a fairly willful action here with the Queen of Wands. Queen of Wands is very fiery. As you can see, she has a bright red and orange dress on. The wands are a fire suit. And the mood that they're in this moment makes me wonder if they had like a moment in a depressive state where they acted out in a way that would be very detrimental to their health, like a very spur of the moment decision made because they were feeling so low. YouTube doesn't like the word, but I do wonder if they were considering ending it there. So far, though, I'm not really seeing other people. Like, the only thing that really would suggest to me, like a commune, would be that first row that we had over here after Strength and then Empress and Hierophant, like some type of coming to Jesus moment or whatever religion they may adhere to, this commune, like, oh, we can help you, like that. But everything else has been a very internal process with him so far. So I'm thinking that it's mostly still Lance. And while there may have been other people around to perhaps support him with food or something during this process, I don't know how long this took. I don't think it took a very long time, to be honest, with this quick succession of cards. I don't think that they were like the main party in this part of the story. I think he was still very much his own person, making his own decisions. Let's grab a few more cards about what happened after the Queen of Wands showed up. And then I want to move on to, will we ever learn more about him? Like, are we going to find anything of his physical remains or anything like that? We have the Princess of Cups, which is the Page of Cups in reverse. A negative surprise. It's also very sudden, which is the thing with the Page of Cups. And this does strengthen my sense of a very spur-of-the-moment negative emotion that may have brought this about. So a very quick bout of deep depression, maybe. You may have already had some type of underlying depression anyway due to having such a serious diagnosis, but it's more like sometimes that goes so deep in such a short period of time, that spiral. That's what I'm looking at over here. Oops. A couple of cards down here. Six of Pentacles in reverse, no charity given, possibly feeling like there's nothing they can do. Then we have a bit of a struggle here. Could be that it is a mental struggle here with the Five of Wands. Yeah, Five of Wands. These two, even though they are like arm wrestling, it also kind of looks like they're fighting over control of this bat. So I'm wondering if there was a moment of should I or shouldn't I involved here. Like there's two different diamonds in the background, two different games that could have been played. Like I have this option, I have this option. They may have been struggling with what should I do, what would be the best thing to do. And then we have the Eight of Wands, which is very quick action. but it's in reverse, so I think that they chose the negative action out of the options available, which I think means that they decided to step out, which is what I was hinting at earlier as well. Okay, so I think that's where his story ends on this mortal coil, but let's see about the future. Are we going to find anything of Lance's, any physical pointers towards what actually happened to him? Are we going to find his remains, or oops, okay, there's a lot of cards and one of them on the floor. The floor card, the Six of Wands in reverse, so that probably points towards there not being much left to find, or at least victory is not easy to get because it's in reverse. And then we have the Ten of Wands, oppression, and the Hierophant. Okay, there may be some elements that are kind of fighting against his discovery or something. There may be some people who are like, oh, you, from a Hierophant perspective, shouldn't dig too much into this. If he wanted to be by himself or something like that, if he wanted to be at a commune, leave him be. There may actually be people from a commune trying to fight against it. Maybe there were some people involved here and there that were just trying to prevent people from looking into their business, because of course that would require checking out things in their commune in order to see if Lance was there or not. Even if Lance wasn't there, I'm pretty sure communists are not super happy with outsiders coming in to judge them, so there may have been some issues there as well. But this is the Ten of Wands, which is usually a final struggle before you reach the end type of card, so maybe that part will eventually be concluded. Some people will get some information here and there from these commune leaders that may give some definitive answers in that direction in any case. Like they may finally give access to investigators, and then they can actually do their job. They are the investigators and come to some conclusion that either he was or wasn't ever there. Let's see what that does for the rest of the research. We have here the Knight of Swords, which in this deck is the King of Swords. It is in reverse. It is called the Game Master. There may be somebody involved on that end who is purposely working against them, but somebody else may have some type of higher intuition over here that's going to help out, because here we have once again the High Priestess, followed by the Prince or Knight rather of Swords. Somebody's going to follow a hunch, and that may actually lead to something pretty good. So we have the Game Master on one end, who is usually somebody, as you can see, who is very tactful, very strategic, but they may not be able to move as fast as the hacker over here, whoever this Prince of Swords is, or Knight of Swords as this deck tends to calls them princes rather than knights. So they may not be as fast as this hacker person, who may catch them in something that they were not expecting based off of a hunch that they got. So that's interesting. A couple of cards more to round this off. We still have two spaces on the end there. Whoops. Okay, we have a little bit more space apparently, because there's more than two cards popping up over here. Alright, so following the hacker, we have the Five of Pentacles. Alright, so we are worried about maybe our finances. Maybe there isn't enough that we can do in order to get the information that we need. Maybe certain people need more resources in order to be able to carry out their tasks. And then we come to a decision that needs to be made. Are we going to go for this? Are we going to go for that? And then finally, the Sun, Ace of Cups, and the Ten of Cups in reverse. Okay, that does not bode very well for a positive result to this case, because the Sun being in reverse means that the light is leaving. We saw that earlier with Lance's own cards as well. And Ace of Cups, we are perhaps making connections that are not helpful, picking a road that does not lead to anybody's satisfaction emotionally, and definitely not in the long run, which is interesting that we pull the Ten of Cups as a final card, because the Sun, the character of the Sun, this little boy, is also right there. So The Sun and the Ten of Cups are in agreement that things are not going to take a positive turn here. So perhaps the Five of Pentacles over there is the concern that there's not going to be enough resources to actually do anything with this case. And then we have to make a decision. Things have to be made. Cuts have to be made over here with the Two of Swords, which definitely puts this investigation on a more negative path, which does not lead to a satisfying ending. So that, I think, means that we're not going to see too much more information on lands in the news, etc. So that is what I'm seeing for lands, Kapua. I hope you found it interesting. Make sure to leave a comment and a like. I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that's even more appreciated. In any case, hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.